Welcome to episode 20 of Vicious Breakdown. We're going to talk Raw, SmackDown, the NFL releases, the trades that's been going down, Michigan season's wrap up before the Big Ten tournament next week. And are NFL teams paying QBs way too much that hurts roster depth? In my elephant in the room segment, we could touch on all that. We got the power rankings in NBA. We got the MVP watch list. So let's break it down. Let's start off with Raw. And I'm going to talk about this Danhausen situation. Everyone was talking about how stupid it was. And last week I told y'all Danhausen is for the kids, not for you. And look at what's happening. He's number one or the top merchandise getter in all WWE with his t-shirt. Like I said, his t-shirt. He goes out there and Dirty Dom is talking that crap. And he looks at him and he's like, well, you're cursed. And Dirty Dom's like laughing it off like that's not even cool. It doesn't mean nothing because, oh, I'm cursed. And then he goes out there and loses his IC title, the Penta. So WWE's trying to use this mythical Undertaker-esque type things and make Danhausen look like $1 million. We're going to talk later about it on SmackDown, but he was on SmackDown too. So he just pops up, does a little stick in the back and move on. And obviously it's working because people are chanting his name. I've seen people in the audience with his face paint already. So like I said, it's not about you. It's not about the IWC. It's about the people that pay the money, and they're all about the money, and they're not about, stupid storylines or whatever. They don't care. If it makes money, best believe it's going to be on your TV screen. If it don't make money, that's why it's not on your TV screen. And that's the beast that we live with. So I don't know what people assume that's going to happen, but congratulations to Penta for winning the IC title because he definitely deserves it. You know what I mean? Because he is that dude, and only best thing's going to happen for him. And I'm kind of interested in what's going to happen tonight between Dom and Danhausen, because Danhausen cursed him. He's going to either keep losing going forward until he has to beg Danhausen to take the curse away, or I'm all for the ride. Let's moving on to SmackDown. There's another thing that people are so irritated about, but let's start with Danhausen. He wants a mentor. He asked Nick Aldis for a mentor, and he's like, blah, blah, blah. And then he looks on the corner, and there's the best mentor he could find, The Miz. And The Miz is like, nah, I don't want to do it. I don't want this goth kid or whatever he said. And Danhausen is just clever. So you got Danhausen trying to be mentor. And like I said, they're going to use, if they keep using him like this, it's going to be chef's kiss every week. But if they start putting him in matches week after week after week, that's not going to be the play. But I feel that they're going to keep doing what they're doing with Danhausen. And if he keeps providing, merch sales that are high, you're going to see Danhausen every single week. I'm going to tell you that much, bruh. So let's move on to the main event where people got the panties in a tizzy. You got Cody Rhodes facing Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. And lo and behold, Cody Rhodes is once again your WWE Champion. And he defeated Drew basically clean in the middle of the ring. Besides the fact that Drew tried to hit him with a chair, but Jacob Fatu was like, no, bruh, you're not going to be able to do that. And I don't know what else you expected, because Cody versus Randy Orton is a money match if they want to do a singles match. And it seems like they don't want to do a multi-person match at all. So if that's the case, then you got to do Cody. You got to do Randy. The history they've had, going back to Legacy with Ted DiBiase, Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton, the trio that took over, destroyed everybody. Like, that's what we need to deal with. And I think it's going to be money, and people are just losing it. They're like, well, how come you do it? You're going to make a movie. You're going to make Highlander. So he was going to leave after WrestleMania anyway. So either he was going to lose it last, or he going to lose it after Mania, or during Mania, or whatever. So what their plans and what they want to do, Randy versus Cody, that's the play. And I feel that they're going to just do Drew versus Jacob Fatu, because Fatu interfered. So those are marquee matches, unless they want to throw them all together and have that fatal four-way. But I think the way they're trying to do is trying to keep singles matches and a better build towards those matches by being one-on-one instead of one versus one versus one versus one. You know what I mean? So those are the things that I feel WWE needs to do, and people just need to stop tripping all the time. Because what's done is done, and if you don't like it, then don't watch it. If you love it, then just love it. Just you can't nitpick every little thing and expect people to be like, yeah, or no, or whatever. But hate is hate. Like earlier, I've seen Thea Hale had a big long video about haters on the internet, and it's been haters on the internet since day one. The internet became a thing. That's what we do. That's what everyone does, because hate gets more clout than positivity. So I just speak how it is. I call it how it is, whether it's negative, positive, whatever. So just remember that Cody Rhodes deserves everything he has gotten. And if you don't like it, then I don't know what you want. I don't know what you want out of this, but Cody Rhodes deserves it. He is the American Nightmare or something like that. But moving on. This episode is brought to you by W Energy, the clean energy drink mix built for gamers, creators, and grinders like us. No jitters, no crash, no artificial dyes, just smooth, long-lasting focus whenever I'm breaking down WWE storylines, debating NBA, or just recording late at night. It's zero sugars, packed with vitamins and nutrients, and it actually keeps you locked in without the shaky feeling. Head to w.gg and use code Bishop's Breakdown at checkout and save 10%. So level up your energy, and let's get back to the breakdown. And thanks for supporting the show. Let's start with NFL releases and trades that have gone down so far. You got Tua Tagovailoa of the former quarterback for the Miami Dolphins got released. Geno Smith, the former quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders, got released. You got the former running back of the Houston Texans, Joe Mixon, released, which I kind of seen that coming when they just traded for David Montgomery of the Lions. But then Kyle Murray is also getting released from the Arizona Cardinals. And all these are going to be finalized by Wednesday or Thursday when the new year starts for the NFL. Let's talk trades. You got DJ Moore, formerly of the Chicago Bears, going from the Bears to the Buffalo Bills to play with Josh Allen. But I don't think that's going to matter because Josh Allen is just cursed. The Bills are just cursed. And then you got Max Crosby going from the Raiders to the Baltimore Ravens. And instantaneously, that defense is that much better. Then you got Rashawn Gary going from the Green Bay Packers to the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm feeling they're trying to use this to restack their defense when they lost Michael Parsons. But sorry to break it to you, but Rashawn Gary is not Micah Parsons. They're going to need a few more Garys to stack up to that. And then breaking news, Michael Pittman Jr., who goes from the Indianapolis Colts to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the question is, who's going to throw to him? Is Aaron Rodgers coming back? I don't know. Are they going to get somebody else? I don't know. So with that being said, Just keep an eye out because the draft's coming up real soon. But let's talk some free agencies as well. The Super Bowl MVP, Kenneth Walker III, leaving the Seahawks to go play with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And on top of that, Travis Kelce was like, I ain't going nowhere, I'm coming back. And the Chiefs still had the number 9 and the number 29th pick of this year's draft. Maybe the Chiefs are coming back. That's why I'm saying Josh Allen's cursed, because he had his opportunity and it went into the wind, and then they took the guy that got the MVP of the Super Bowl and added to it their already stacked roster. So watch out for the Chiefs again. Moving on to something that's very important to me. The Michigan Wolverines. The Michigan Wolverines basketball team ended their season an incredible 29-2. First year on the Big Ten tournament, though, that every single Big Ten team is in the tourney, which means that Michigan's the number 1 seed in the tourney. And they don't have to play till Friday because they got a triple bye week. So hopefully they won't be rusty. But I think they're going to be fine. And I really think they're going to show some people. And they just got to win 3 games, quarterfinals, semifinals, and the finals. And then Selection Sunday. So I'm very confident. I watched that game against Michigan State. I watched that game against Iowa. And they're playing better. They're still trying to figure out a few things here and there, but I think in the long run, Michigan's going to surprise some people. But more on that next week after Selection Sunday to see where they fall and see what other number 1 seeds and what other teams are in the Big Ten, the National Championship tournament. Hey everyone, it's Bishop. I got something special for you today. On the next bonus episode, I'm breaking down the top 4 teams in college basketball, giving you my insider's take and predictions you won't hear anywhere else. Plus, I'll dive into Vince Russo and John Cena's AEW talk and why he's crazy. No fluff, just straight analysis. This episode is exclusive to my Patreon supporters. For just a few bucks a month, you got bonus episodes like this, exclusive merch, and even a chance to ask me questions directly on a live Q&A session. So if you want in, join the crew now. The link will be in the description, and I'd love to have you on board and make sure you never miss the inside scoop. So break that down. So let's jump into my favorite segment of the week, Elephant in the Room topic, where I just pick a topic that I see on the internet, make me scratch my head, and I just give you my thoughts and feelings. So are the NFL teams paying quarterbacks way too much that it hurts their roster depth? I'll give you an example. Tua and the Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins will eat a whopping $99.2 million in salary cap dead money because they released them while on contract. And here's current 3 players that are quarterbacks tied to their team that if they get released, they'll have this dead cap space as well. You got Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens, $74.5 million. Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys, $74 million. And Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions, $69.6 million. So you look at these teams and they're burdened by paying these quarterbacks so much money. Definitely the Dolphins, because they have paid Tua so much money and they still owe so much money in salary cap. And now they're stuck with what they got or what they can get. And it's not going to be anywhere near the caliber of Tua or any caliber past Tua because they just can't simply afford it because they spent way too much money keeping Tua. And now they got an empty bag with a receipt. What's the concept in that? How is that going to help the Dolphins in the future? How is that going to help the Ravens if they got rid of Lamar Jackson or the Lions or the Cowboys or any of these teams that paid astronomical amount of money to their quarterbacks, their franchise guys. Now they're not franchise guys, they're fodder. And now the teams are stuck. So maybe they should rethink of paying these quarterbacks as much money as they're doing and recalibrate their contract so they're not left holding the empty bag with nothing to show for it. And then they can help their depth of their roster by adding a pretty decent backup, pretty decent third string. They can have wide receivers, running backs, linemen. They can have defensive players, cornerbacks, safeties, hell, a punter, kicker, all aspects of the game to make it a team like the Seahawks who just won the Super Bowl. Or even go further and you get the Chiefs. If you look at those rosters, they were stacked because they renegotiated money from player 1 all the way down to player 11. And that's what these teams need to do instead of being top heavy. And then now the trickle down effect means nothing because they have no money to afford it. And that's when they lose free agency quarterbacks and wide receivers and running backs because they just don't have the money. And then when they do release these players, they got nothing to show for it. They got like Dolphins. I could keep bringing up the Dolphins. How many playoff wins have they had since Tua started that? 0. I mean, how many playoffs have they even been to? A couple. So this $99.2 million dead cap space is just a hemorrhoid to the establishment that is the Miami Dolphins. And they won't be good for a minute until they can get through this salary cap and start to rebuild. And that's why they shouldn't have gave them that money. I know hindsight is 20/20, but even a blind man walking down the street of New Orleans could have seen that Tua was not going to be that guy. Sorry, Tua, you just ain't that guy. I mean, maybe you'll prove me wrong because even a quarterback by the name of Joey Harrington, he proved me wrong when he went to Miami from Detroit. But I got to see a lot from you, Tua, because I've seen shades. You had probably the top 2 wide receivers in the last 10 years on your team with Tyreek Hill and Waddle. And what did he have to show for that? So I think the NFL teams need to think about what they need to do and not pay these quarterbacks top tier money if they're not 1,000% confident that these are the franchise quarterbacks going forward. You know, not everybody is a Brett Favre or a Aaron Rodgers. You know, sometimes you got a quarterback for a couple years and then all of a sudden you look at it and it just ain't working. And it might just need a change of scenery. You might need something. But now they're strapped. They're stuck with this. Like to the point where I'm shocked that even let him go. But that's how bad the relationship between the Tua and the Dolphins really were, that they're willing to be strapped with a $99.2 million dead cap money to just move on from the Tua experiment. Enough of the QBs and billionaires and the millionaires and trillionaires, and back to solid ground. Let's talk NBA power ranking. Guess who's back in the top? The OKC Thunder. They're 50-15. They're on a 5-game winning streak. Number 2, you got the Spurs, 47-17 on a 4-game winning streak. And from 1 to 3, you got the Detroit Pistons, 45-18 on a 4-game losing streak. They're showing signs of Detroit Pistons of the past. And that's not a good thing. And they need to do something because this is the other half of the All-Star break. And this is where teams show up and show out or get lost in the wind and sitting at home during playoff time. But I feel Detroit Pistons will figure it out. Because if they don't, the team in 4th is going to take over, and it's crazy to even think about, but it's the Boston Celtics, and they're 43-21. Jason Tatum just came back a couple games ago, and they're on a 2-game winning streak. So watch out for the Boston Celtics, Detroit Pistons, because you're on the top right now, but only barely. I think it's like 3.5, 4.5 game between the two. So they need to keep up their winning ways, or the Boston Celtics are going to knock you out in the first place, and then it will be knocked out of the power ranking. So keep your heads up. Detroit Pistons, Spurs, Thunder, and Boston Celtics. That's my power ranking. So let's move on to the MVP watch list. You got the Luka Doncic of the Los Angeles Lakers, averaging 32.5 points per game, which is number 1 in the league. And he also has 8.4 assists per game, 7.8 rebounds per game. And then the second guy, you know him, you love him, Nikola Jokic, the Joker himself, 28.8 points per game, 5th of all the NBA stars, 12.5 rebounds per game, and 10.3 assists per game, which are both number 1 in that category in all of the league. Because that guy is special. And this is why he's always going to be on the watch list, because he just wakes up and chooses violence. So that's episode 2020. Next week will be all March Madness. My favorites, my dark horses. Once I see who's on Selection Sunday and the brackets are finalized, I will go through it and let y'all know who I feel is the favorite and who I feel maybe is a dark horse and need to check that out. We're also going to cover Raw, SmackDown as usual. And as we creep closer to the draft day, April 23rd in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, we keep up on the NFL's trades, releases, free agency signing, all that good stuff, because this is only going to get crazier until the 23rd. So don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe and share with your friends, because I'm your host, Bishop. So, deuces. Osis.